guys, welcome back to Crimson Productions. As the MLB spring training just started a few days ago, I thought there would be no better time to talk about my predictions for the 2020 season. Starting off in the AL East, I believe the Yankees will take the division by a significant margin. Their season was cut short last year by the Astros cheating scandal, but over the offseason they ended up signing Astros ace Garrett Cole to an over $300 million contract. They do have Luis Severino, who's out for the season unfortunately, and they'll be looking to J.A. Happ to fill in his shoes. They have a phenomenal lineup of power hitters and veterans that I believe will be able to tough out a not-so-tough division. I got the Rays coming in second place in the AL East and also taking the first wild card spot in the American League. They had a great season last year that no one expected, with phenomenal performances from guys like Charlie Morton and Austin Meadows, and I believe they'll be able to continue that momentum. In third place in the AL East, I have the Boston Red Sox, who obviously lost a huge piece in Mookie Betts this offseason, and they also lost David Price, both to the LA Dodgers. They still have phenomenal talent in guys like Chris Sale and Rafael Devers, but I just don't believe that they have any kind of talent to make any kind of serious run. But I do believe that they'll be one of the very average teams this season. In fourth place, I have the Toronto Blue Jays, who are not a very good team at all, but they do have a lot of young talent in guys like Cavan Biggio, Bo Bichette, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who are all children of Hall of Fame caliber baseball players. The Blue Jays will be looking to them to have a crazy impact this season and hopefully have breakthrough seasons for all of them. The most possible breakthrough season out of all of them, I would definitely say, is for Bo Bichette. He had a phenomenal year last year, and I believe that he can keep it up. Last place, I have the Orioles. There's not much to say about the Orioles. They broke the MLB record last year for most home runs allowed in a season, and I believe that they could honestly do it again this year. Next, in the AL Central, I have the Twins coming out on top. They just added Josh Donaldson to their team of already phenomenal power hitters. Last season, they broke the MLB record for most home runs in one season by a team, actually beating out the 2019 New York Yankees by 1 home run. They have phenomenal pitching in guys like Jose Barrios and Jake Odorizzi, and I believe that they will easily come out on top in the AL Central. In second place, I have the Chicago White Sox. They made a few amazing trades over the offseason and signed a lot of good players, and I don't believe that it will be enough for a wild card spot, but I do think that they'll have a very good bounce back season. Below that, I have the Cleveland Indians in third. I believe that the Indians and the White Sox are kind of interchangeable, but the Indians did lose Corey Kluber over the offseason, who was their ace. Mike Clevenger is out with a knee injury. He's actually getting surgery, and Clevenger and Lindor both might be on the trade block, so I just don't see them really making a very serious run at any point. Below that, I have Kansas City. Nothing to really be said about them, but they do have a few phenomenal players and guys like Jorge Soler, who last season broke the franchise record for most home runs in a season, and it will definitely be enough to edge out the Detroit Tigers, who will 100% be in last place in the AL Central. Moving on to the AL West, I believe that Houston will barely edge out the Oakland Athletics. Obviously, I don't like the Astros at all, and they had a huge cheating scandal in the 2019 World Series. However, they do have a phenomenal pitching rotation, and Jose Altuve, even before all the cheating allegations, was still hitting over 300, so it's not like they don't have talent. It's not like they're not a phenomenal team. I do believe that they'll still edge it out a little bit. Even though they did lose Garrett Cole, they're going to have their first full season with Zach Greinke, who was an AL Cy Young competitor last year, and I believe that they'll barely edge out Oakland, which is unfortunate. In second place in the AL West, obviously, as I said, I have the Oakland Athletics. I believe that Matt Chapman will be an MVP candidate, and I believe that they will easily secure the second American League wildcard spot. Below them, I have the Angels, who just signed Anthony Rendon, phenomenal player, hit almost .320 last season and had over 30 home runs. Also very solid defensively, not phenomenal defensively, but very, very solid. So I definitely believe that the Angels will be able to round out that third spot. Right below them, I have the Rangers, who obviously just got Corey Kluber, a phenomenal ace for them. They have Lance Lynn, who had a phenomenal season last year. Guys like Joey Gallo, just an unreal ball player. I'm very excited to see what he does this year. And in last place, I have the Mariners. As with the rest of the last place teams in the American League, not much to be said about them. Moving on to the NL, I have the Atlanta Braves taking the NL East with the acquisition of Marcell Ozuna, who killed them in the divisional round last year. Their outfield just becomes impeccable. They have Ronald Acuna Jr. in center field, who was very close to a 40-40 season last year, and honestly would have gotten it if he wasn't injured the last few games. And funnily enough, he's been joking with his first baseman that he was going for a 50-50 season this year, which is near impossible to do. It will be extremely impressive and would solidify him as the NL MVP, which I do think that regardless, he will be a candidate for this year. Right below them, I have the reigning champs, the Washington Nationals. I don't believe that the Phillies are going to be in any position to overtake them. Bryce Harper just had a very, very poor season last year. He proved that he's not worth anywhere near $300 million. But their catcher JT Realmuto had a very good season. He had a breakthrough year. Guys like Rhys Hoskins, who's been improving his defense and been working on his bat a little bit. I believe the Phillies are once again an average team, but their pitching is nothing crazy, and I just don't believe that they'll be able to pass the Nationals, who, with the loss of Anthony Rendon, their cornerstone, is still a very good team. They did sign Steven Strasburg to an extension worth over $300 million, which I don't believe he's worth. He's very old, he's very injury prone, but in the postseason last year, he proved his worth and showed that he could be clutch when he needs to be, so hopefully he could just stay healthy. He's a very phenomenal pitcher. He's just not worth that kind of money, I don't think. But they also have Max Scherzer, who's a year in, year out NL Cy Young candidate, AL Cy Young candidate. It doesn't matter. He's always at the top of the league. In fourth place, I have the Mets. Their bullpen is supposed to be pretty talented, but they haven't been performing very well as of late. Jeurys Familia was injured for a majority of the season last year, and Edwin Diaz gave up a lot of very clutch home runs when he was supposed to be their closer. Seth Lugo did have a phenomenal year last year out of the bullpen, though. They do have guys like Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, Jacob deGrom, and Noah Syndergaard, who I believe I believe will be enough to keep them out of fifth place, which will easily belong to the Miami Marlins. Moving on to definitely what was the hardest division to rank, the NL Central. I have the St. Louis Cardinals coming out on top barely, maybe by a game or two. They had breakout seasons from guys like Tommy Edman and Paul DeJong, who had a 3-home run game last year. They had a Cy Young candidate in the second half of the season, and Jack Flaherty, who came out of nowhere. I believe that they'll have just enough to barely edge out the Cincinnati Reds, who I have in second. The Cincinnati Reds were able to keep Aristides Aquino, Luis Castillo, and Eugenio Suarez, who were all main pieces in their team last year. They were also able to add Nicholas Castellanos, Pedro Strop, and Shogo Akiyama, who I believe will all play a major role in the Cincinnati Reds' success this season. I believe they will easily be able to secure a wild card spot, if not be able to beat out the St. Louis Cardinals in first. Below them, I have Milwaukee. Not really much to say. Moving on. I mean, all the teams are just phenomenal teams that didn't really make very many moves in the offseason. Milwaukee didn't really do anything in the offseason. All they did was lose Yasmani Grandal, who was a big piece for them. Chicago in fourth, who again didn't really do anything but lose Pedro Strop and Nicholas Castellano to the Cincinnati Reds. And in last place, Pittsburgh, again, not really a very crazy team, and all they really did in the offseason was lose Starlin Marte to the Arizona Diamondbacks. So that's how I see the NL Central panning out, but I genuinely believe that first and fourth place could be within like 10 games. It's just a very competitive division. And finally, in the NL West, very uninteresting, I have the Dodgers coming out on top, easily being able to crush everyone else in their division. They have the reigning NL MVP in Cody Bellinger. They just signed Mookie Betts from the Boston Red Sox and got David Price in the same deal. They have phenomenal starting pitching in guys like Walker Buehler and Clayton Kershaw. And they also have a great bullpen in guys like Kenley Jansen and Joe Kelly. Below that, I have Arizona. The Diamondbacks had a decent season last year, breakthrough year for Ketel Marte, who I believe will be able to continue the momentum. They also just signed Starlin Marte from the Pittsburgh Pirates, And they did lose Greinke, but they have some decent pitching, and they have a few weapons in Escobar and stuff like that. So I believe that they'll be able to get to second place in the division, but I don't think they'll be in the wild card or make any kind of run. Below that, in third place, I have the Padres. They're just very underwhelming every year, and Manny Machado just hasn't proven that he could lead the charge how they had hoped, so don't really have much to say on them. Just year in and year out, very underwhelming, not very good pitching, not very many weapons in the field, and their one superstar is just not getting it done. And in fourth place in the NL West, I have the Colorado Rockies. Unfortunately, the most consistent and best weapon they've had over the past few years is their third baseman, Nolan Arenado. There's been a lot of rumors that they could be looking to trade him, get rid of him. So all they'll really have is Trevor Story, if that is the case, and if not, I don't think that both of them together are enough to salvage what poor pitching they have and what a subpar team it is all around aside from them. And in last place in the NL West, I obviously have the San Francisco Giants. Like the rest of the teams that were in last place, not really much to be said about them. One of the few signings that I saw from them this offseason was that they signed Hunter Pence, which is just out of respect because he played the highlights of his career was with them. So I just definitely don't see them being anything special this year. Not very good pitching and just very few weapons offensively. Just definitely they'll secure the last spot in the NL West. And just for a few quick predictions on the awards, I have Acuna Jr. winning NL MVP. I have Trout winning AL MVP, always a super safe bet. I have Walker Buehler winning the NL Cy Young, and I have Garrett Cole winning the AL Cy Young. Thank you guys so much for watching. Definitely let me know down below if you agree or disagree. I would love to hear your guys' opinions. Also, if there's any suggestions on what you would like the next video to be about, definitely let me know that as well.